Obamacare is exploding with no Democrat support. We couldn't quite get there. We're just a very small number of votes short in terms of getting our bill passed.
So, I predicted this, by the way, but the vote for healthcare, as many of you all know, has been pulled. Trump said he pulled it today. He had a press conference in which he talked about it. Trumpcare, for right now, is dead. And as you can see by the look on my face, I'm just very sad. I'm just so sad. You know, what are you laughing in there for, Tom Benson? You don't think I'm just devastated that Trumpcare has been pulled?
I'm waiting for you to say it's a great start to the weekend.
Okay, it's a great start to the weekend. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. We are doing this show 6 to 7 p.m., just 1 hour, and we have like a million different things to cram in to this show. A lot of information we're going to get to, so you have to pay attention all hour. If you miss any of the show, you can catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. We are also on Facebook Live as well. Just send me a friend request on Facebook or like the Facebook page at WFLA Orlando. So there is already a lot of reaction to the fact that this healthcare bill failed. As you can probably know, I'm not exactly too upset that this healthcare bill failed because it was a bad bill. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. It was just not a good bill. And why was it not a good bill? Because we're trying to go things halfway. What this has proved to me, more than anything, is that there are too many Republicans in Congress who are not conservatives. You know, we like to believe that the Tea Party in 2010 brought all these new conservatives in, which it did, a lot of them. We like to believe that Trump is the man of conservatism and free market capitalism. We like to believe that, right? We like to believe that Paul Ryan is big time free market capitalism. But what this proved to me is that they're not. They're not free market capitalism. The health care bill that they proposed is not free market capitalism. The second thing that this proves to me is it is incredibly difficult, and this is proof that it is incredibly difficult to actually get rid of an entitlement. People like me and others in 2010, when they were trying to pass Obamacare, warned Congress, warned everybody, don't let this pass, because once it's passed, it will be incredibly difficult to get rid of. Because that's what happens with entitlements. Entitlements like this, and this is an entitlement. It is. Because what are most people upset about? They're upset about possibly losing the Medicaid expansion. The Medicaid expansion is an entitlement. And we can never seem to get rid of these entitlements because it creates a culture of dependency. And that's what's happening. There was a good plan out there. There was a good plan, a free market plan by the Freedom Caucus, by Rand Paul, and Trump originally backed it, then he backed off. Paul Ryan couldn't back it. A lot of the moderates in the Senate and a lot of Republican governors apparently don't really believe in free market capitalism like they say they do. They say they do in the primaries, they say they do when they're running, but now they really don't. So now they're going to blame the Freedom Caucus. Although Trump actually went a different route, and we're going to play some cuts from him in a second. But they're going to blame the Freedom Caucus, and once again, they're going to blame conservatism for not fixing Obamacare. Your fix would not have fixed it. It's not free market capitalism. Why can't the Republican Party just believe in conservatism? Why is this so difficult? But this is what happens when you create another giant entitlement program. You can't get people off of it. And it's also what happens when you don't go on the offensive. This is also what happens when you try to play things halfway and you try to please the mainstream media and you try to please the Democrats. That's what happens. You can't go on the offensive. All you had to do was say, we want to make healthcare affordable again. We want to make healthcare affordable again. All they had to do was push that. If we could make healthcare affordable again, even the poor can afford it, and they wouldn't have to be put on Medicaid. Why is this the good thing now? We're happy that everyone's dependent on Medicaid? Medicaid's a disaster. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. And so we're going to play some more cuts here from Trump. Trump held a press conference talking about what his take on why he pulled the vote for this Trumpcare. And I'm calling it Trumpcare. Trump is responsible for this. Trump pushed it. Vice President Mike Pence pushed it. Tom Price pushed it. You can't put this all in Congress. You can't put this all on Paul Ryan. Trump owns this as well. And in the Republican primary and in the presidential election, I warned you all, Trump is not free market when it comes to health care. Free market health care is not a big priority for him. If Obamacare was your biggest issue, and that's why you voted for Trump, it was a dumb reason to vote for Trump, because Trump is not big on this. In the past, in 2000, in his book, he basically proposed Obamacare in his book. So, and he has said he's like single payer in the past. So to act like now that Trump is going to be big free market capitalism when it comes to healthcare, it was silly. I don't know why anybody really expected it. He had some lip service to repealing and replacing it, but I'm telling you, he would much rather do this other stuff. He would much rather, the only reason he pushed this first was to get it out of the way. He doesn't care. All right, let's get into what Trump said. Now, Trump actually had an interesting reaction to all this. Go ahead and play cut 2 for me, Tom Benson.
This is not a Republican health care. This is not anything but a Democrat health care. And they have Obamacare for a little while longer until it ceases to exist, which it will at some point in the near future. And just remember, this is not our bill. This is their bill. Now, when they all become civilized and get together and try and work out a great health care bill for the people of this country, we're open to it. We're totally open to it.
Okay, so what Trump did when he came out on this press conference is he immediately blamed the Democrats. He said, well, really, we could have passed something, but the Democrats, we couldn't get any Democrats on board. They weren't bipartisan enough, and they don't care about the health care of the American people, and it's a Democrat's fault. This is actually a pretty good political move when you think about it. It's actually a pretty good political move because he doesn't want to upset any Republicans because he has to lead them all. Now, behind the scenes, who knows what's going on, but to come out publicly and put this on the Democrats, it's exactly what the Democrats would have done to us. So to go offensive against the Democrats is actually pretty smart. Here is the problem with what Trump just said, though. What Trump, and actually Paul Ryan said this, and we're going to get to that cut. What they are saying now is they're going to wait until Obamacare implodes, and then the Democrats are going to come screaming and begging for Trump to do something on health care, and they'll be able to get Democrat votes to do it. One, I think that's a little naive. The Democrats will let this country go to hell if that means Trump doesn't get reelected, first off. Second off, if Republicans don't do something, they're going to lose a lot of seats, and then the Democrats could once again gain control of Congress. If that happens, they will come to Trump, but they're not going to come to Trump with a free market plan. What they are going to propose is closer to single payer, closer to the public option, closer to Medicaid for all, closer to Bernie Sanders' plan. And what really worries me is to merely get something done, Trump will sign that bill. That's what worries me. That the Democrats in the future, when they have more power, will come to Trump to actually have a reform. That reform's going to be more socialist, and Trump, just to get something done, will pass it. That's a problem. So to act like, well, we have to let it implode and then work with the Democrats later, that's a big mistake. The Democrats are going to come into the future, and they're going to have a more socialist plan, and I think Trump might sign it. So to act like, oh, well, the Democrats own this now. No, Republicans are going to suffer for not getting something done. They're going to suffer for not getting something done. And what they proposed was not free market capitalism. All this has proved is that too much of the Republican Congress is not conservative. That is what this proved. And Trump is not conservative on this issue. I've been saying that since the primaries. I warned you all he was not conservative on this issue. He has much more bigger priorities, and he wants to move on from this. Now, let's go to the next cut of Donald Trump on this.
But I'll tell you what's going to come out of it is a better bill. I really believe a better bill. Because there were things in this bill I didn't particularly love. And I think it's a better bill. You know, both parties can get together and do real health care, that's the best thing. Obamacare was rammed down everyone's throat. 100% Democrat. And I think having bipartisan would be a big, big improvement. So, no, I think that this is going to end up being a very good thing.
I understand what he's trying to do politically. He's trying to blame the Democrats and put the failure on the Democrats. But to act like what's better for the country is socialist Democrats to come on board and help pass a bipartisan bill. Do you honestly think that bipartisan bill is going to be more conservative, more free market capitalism than the one we have if it's led by the Democrats? This is a big problem. And to act like Trump is not responsible for this is also naive, in my opinion. To act like Trump led the effort on this to get this passed in Congress. He led the effort to get this passed. And to act like, oh, well, it's all Congress's fault and Trump's not responsible. No. Trump could have came out and supported Rand Paul's plan, supported the Freedom Caucus plan, and he decided not to. What do you all think of this? 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. Now, I want to play the cut from Paul Ryan, Tom Benson. If you could play, because Paul Ryan came out. And what's interesting is Paul Ryan is doing the same thing that Trump is doing now, which has kind of surprised me. It's an interesting strategy. And like I said, it could be very naive. This is what Paul Ryan said.
Yeah, we're going to be living with Obamacare for the foreseeable future. I don't know how long it's going to take us to replace this law. My worry is Obamacare is going to be getting even worse. Actually, I think we were probably doing the Democrats a favor. I think we were doing the architects of Obama a favor by passing this law before it gets even worse. Well, I guess that favor is not going to be given to them, and it's going to get worse. And so I don't think the architects of Obamacare, I'm sure they may be pleased right now, but when they see how bad this thing gets, based on all the projections we're being told by the plans that are participating in Obamacare, I don't think they're going to like that either. Look.
Yes, you were doing them a favor. One, because this plan was keeping a lot of Obamacare in, so that does them a favor. But the other thing is that this was a bad bill that never really had a chance of passing in the first place. So you were doing them a favor now because they're going to wait until Obamacare implodes. See, this is the lie. This is the lie by Trump and Paul Ryan and the Congress right now. What they're saying is we have to let Obamacare implode, and that then in the future, after Obamacare implodes, that the Republicans will be able to pass a free market plan. This is not true. If Obamacare implodes, what's going to happen is Republicans are going to get a lot of the blame for it, because a lot of people voted these Republicans in to repeal and replace Obamacare. If they fail to do that, they're going to give up on those Republicans. That means Democrats are going to get more control of Congress, and when the Obamacare implodes, what are they going to say? And they're already saying this. They're going to say this didn't go far enough. They're going to tell everyone that this plan did not go far enough. What we really need is single payer. Well, they're not going to say single payer. They're going to say Medicaid for all or something like that. We're going to go more and more and nationalize healthcare. Just all I have to do is go on Twitter. Look at the liberals on Twitter tweeting to me. What do they want? They want single payer. So when this implodes, the Democrats are going to come and they're going to say this didn't go far enough. We need to have more Medicaid for all. We need to have more government health care. And you know what? Trump might actually sign a bill that does that. Because if you look at his past, that is what he's believed. He has not been conservative on this issue. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. I'm on Facebook Live as well. You can comment on there. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
You want to listen to Beyond Reason Radio live on your smartphone? Download the Beyond Reason Radio app now. Available in the Google Play or Apple App Stores. The voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason is back now.
So I just looked up Trump's Twitter, and earlier today, he talked about in his press conference that he's not really blaming the Freedom Caucus. They're his buddies, they're his friends. They're still best friends. He's going to blame the Democrats, okay? This is what he said earlier today on his Twitter about the Freedom Caucus, and this is very low, in my opinion. This is a low blow. He said, the irony is that the Freedom Caucus, which is very pro-life and against Planned Parenthood, allows Planned Parenthood to continue if they stop this plan. So the Freedom Caucus now, for not supporting this plan, they essentially support Planned Parenthood. You see how that works? You see how that works? Oh, we love abortion now, apparently, because we didn't back this terrible plan.
He was trying to put them to shame.
Yeah, well, it didn't work. They actually stood for their guns. It's actually a victory for them, but this is not good in the long run, I think. And this shows that there's too many Republicans that are not conservative. How come the Democrats can team up and be socialist, but the Republicans can't team up and be free market capitalists? All right, let's take a call here. Edward in Orlando. Edward, what's your take on this?
Well, I agree with you, and I think it just shows how in disarray the Republican Party really is. The Freedom Caucus. Two things that they wanted in that taking the
essential health benefits out.
Yeah, for the children up till they're 26, staying on their parents' coverage, and then pre-existing. I think if they would have taken those out, that would have been political suicide for a lot of people. But I don't blame Trump so much. These Republicans in Congress have had several years to get a good bill together, working on their own, and it's a shame what they came up with or what they couldn't come up with.
Here's the thing, though. Trump pushed this hard, and there were better plans out there, but he decided to go with this one. And that's the only thing that bothers me. And I appreciate your call, Edward, but that's the one thing that bothers me, to act like Trump isn't responsible for this at all. He pushed for this. He wanted this to pass. He actually threatened the Freedom Caucus and congressmen that if they didn't pass this, he might go after them in the primaries. Unbelievable. Now, Hannity on Fox News, who I usually like, he's a conservative, but he's definitely a big Trump guy. He went on this point as well, and I just can't go down this road. Why they're trying to absolve Trump of any responsibility of this is nobody's going to buy it. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to buy it. This is what Hannity said about it on his show last night.
Now, this bill was quickly labeled Ryan Care, Obamacare Light. President Trump he didn't write this legislation, which, by the way, is not his job. He was then tasked with bringing all of these different groups, all these special interests together. Also respected groups and think tanks like the Heritage Foundation, the Club for Growth, FreedomWorks, Cato, Americans for Prosperity, and frankly, every major conservative radio talk show host in the country and the American people were all confused, angered, and frustrated. And that's why we are here tonight.
They weren't confused,
The legislative branch was clearly, in spite of all of this talk for 7 years, ill-prepared for this moment to lead. They have now failed the president, and it's starting to look like they're the gang that can't shoot straight.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I will agree with them on this. They were definitely ill-prepared to lead. They were. They should have been prepared, and there were some that were. The Freedom Caucus had a plan even before Ryan did. And they were ready to lead, but he's right. The legislature was ill-prepared to lead. But to go down the road that they failed the president, like Trump's just an innocent bystander in all this. He's just, minding his own business, and then they're passing health care, and he's just minding his own business, and it doesn't pass. And how dare you fail President Trump? No, we're not going to go down this road. I'm sorry. I know you just want to defend Trump any chance you get, but I'm sorry. Trump had a chance to get on the bully pulpit and really push for a real reform plan, and he did not do it. He did not do it. He waited for the legislature to come out with something, and before even really knowing or understanding what was in what Ryan came out with, he decided that's the plan we need. Then he went on the offensive, and Mike Pence went on the offensive, and they pushed hard, and they cajoled, and they colluded, and they tried to get this to pass. He wanted this to pass. So to act like he is not responsible at all, the American people are not going to buy it. This is not a political win for Trump at all. It is not a political win for the Republicans at all. Why? because the Republicans ignored their base once again. They were too busy trying to please Democrats and please moderates, and the conservative base has been thrown out the window. That's what's happened. Now, I'm going to play Speaker of the House here for a second. Speaker of the House, Mike Yaffee, right here. You know, we're coming to order here in Congress. This is what they should do now, and it's not what they're going to do. But this is what they should do now. What they should do is do a piece-by-piece breaking apart of Obamacare. There are certain things that you can get all of the Republicans to agree on when it comes to repealing Obamacare. So repeal those things. All you have to do, right, next week, well, I guess they're in recess, but whatever. Whenever they get back from their long vacation, they can come with a bill that says that all it says is we repeal the employer and individual mandate. That's all it has to say. Step 1, repeal the employer mandate, repeal the individual mandate. That's all they have to do. Pass that, step 1, it's a win. Say this, we're on our way to getting this done. Okay, and they can get Republicans on board for that. Step 2, have another bill in a couple weeks after that, do this piece by piece, that gets rid of that allows insurance companies to compete across state lines. Pass that bill. Republicans seem to all agree on that. Trump seems to agree on that. Pass that. Get it done. Another bill, piece by piece. Repeal that. Allow insurance companies to compete across state lines. There you go. Next thing, most Republicans agree that the taxes with Obamacare were too high. So pass a bill that gets rid of the taxes, that lowers the taxes. That's step 3. This can be done step by step. And you won't get all the controversy and all the negative press and all the negative news by trying to pass one giant bill. That would be the way to go. But they're not going to do that. You know how I know they're not going to do that? Because Trump said he's not going to do that. Trump said what he wants, what he thinks is going to happen, is that in the future the Democrats are going to come to him and they're going to pass a better bill, is what Trump said. We're going to pass a better bill. So he wants to put this on hold, let Obamacare implode, and then he's going to work with the Democrats to pass another giant bill instead of doing what they need to do. And if you think that bill is going to be more conservative, I'm sorry, you're naive. Let's take another call here. Let's go to Willie in Orlando. Willie, what's your take on this?
Hey, good night. Good evening, Michael.
How you doing?
I'm unfortunate enough, since my toe amputation surgery, I've been glued to the TV watching C-SPAN and all the news. I've been following this somewhat. I think they may want to just watch Obamacare implode on its own. But the problem with that, and you just mentioned when they come back from the recess in a week, revisit the issue, they got a budget to deal with now, okay? And dealing with that budget, they're going to have to deal with Obamacare.
That's true.
And whether they fund or defund it, whatever they do after that, if Obamacare implodes, they're going to get the blame.
Yes, they are.
So they're not going to have time to deal with Obamacare or health care reform.
But I think
when they come back.
But what I think is it doesn't take much to just pass one bill that gets rid of the mandates. I think they could deal with that and agree with that and get it to the side and get to the other things. You know what I'm saying? What they're trying to do is do this all in one giant bill, and maybe that's the wrong way to go because obviously we can't get the Republicans to agree.
Well, exactly. But like I said, if they repeal it, I knew all along they couldn't repeal it. I mean, all last year they kept talking repeal. They couldn't do that because a lot of people would be pissed off. But if they let it implode on its own, like I said, then they can rebuild it. But
they're going to get
puzzled how they deal with it in the upcoming budget discussion.
Well, and that's a whole different – Trump's budget is a whole different subject. That's another thing where we're going to see if the Republicans cave on that. Trump actually has a decent budget. There's some things I don't like about it, but the Republicans are probably going to cave on a lot of that too because they're not conservative. Willie, thank you so much for your call. We have to get into some of the Russia stuff, some of the spying stuff, because there's a lot of information that came out this week on terms of surveillance on the Trump campaign that a lot of people are not addressing, a lot of people are not talking about. The mainstream press is dealing with Trump's tweets. Did this vindicate Trump's tweets? And there's actually a bigger picture going on here that we really need to address. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. This is Orlando's Smart Talk Radio. Beyond Reason Radio continues now.
This is another edition of Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. We're on until 7 p.m. We talked about healthcare the first half hour of the show. If you missed any of the show, I will post the podcast anywhere the podcasts are available. You can just download the Beyond Reason Radio app. You can go to 1025wfla.iheart.com. Click on Good Morning Orlando and the Beyond Reason blog. I post the podcast there as well. We are on Facebook Live. If you send me a friend request on Facebook, you can also follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. I got into an interesting exchange on Twitter yesterday I might talk about in a little bit. Somebody just asked me on Facebook Live, what do you do during commercials? I look up, I do more research. I don't know. What do you want me to do? Want me to juggle? I can juggle if you want.
I thought you went to the refrigerator, grabbed a beer and some pork rinds.
Maybe I will. I'm not much of a beer drinker, but, who knows? So I want to move on to this whole spy. I don't know what to call it. Spygate, surveillance gate. They keep trying to make it about Russia. But the big news this week was that Representative Nunes came out, and he went to Trump, and he went to the press, and he went to Speaker Paul Ryan, and he said, look, the intelligence reports show that there was surveillance on people in the Trump administration. Now, he says what they did was legal. He says the way it was presented is that it was incidental, meaning that they were spying on other people, foreign operatives, and then the Trump campaign got caught up in it. Oh, that's pretty convenient, don't you think? But what happened is they didn't unmask them, or they didn't mask them. They unmasked them. So you have Trump campaign officials and possibly Trump himself all over these intelligence reports when they're not supposed to be on there. Not only that, but as the Federalists had a great story on this by Molly Hemingway reported, what was in those intelligence reports that Nunes was talking about? Nothing about Russia. I thought the whole reason they were spying on him had to do with Russia. But all these intelligence reports that have all these Trump officials' names on it, it wasn't even about Russia. So why are they doing this? I think something's fishy here. I've smelled a rat on this from the beginning. I admitted that Trump probably reacted too quickly, that Trump probably exaggerated in his tweets, that he was reacting to news reports he saw. That being said, those news reports were there. Trump didn't just make this up out of thin air. There were news reports that the Obama administration, through the FBI, through the Department of Justice, went after FISA court orders. They were spying on a Trump server in Trump Tower. This is what the news reports said. Other news reports also said that the Obama administration relaxed the rules on the NSA to disperse intelligence. That was reported by Fox everywhere. New York Times, Fox News. Why did they do that? Well, it's pretty obvious why they did that, because they want intelligence operatives to leak all this stuff. So who's lying here? Comey came out and said, well, there's nothing to the wiretapping thing. So that means somebody's lying. Either the intelligence sources are lying, the FBI is lying, Trump is lying, the news reporters are lying. Who's lying here? Because something's going on. Or are these sources giving out false information? But then you have Nunes who comes out and says Trump administration people are all over these intelligence reports. Why? They should be very concerned. I went to Trump, Trump's the president of the United States. He has access to this intelligence if he wants it. He goes to him and says, you should be concerned about this because something is going on. Something is not right. Obama is finding a way to see what you were up to. And they try to do it in a sort of backhanded way. But you talk about coincidence. They say there's this connection between Trump and Russia is too much coincidence. Well, this spying on Trump seems a little too much coincidence to me as well. So the ranking Democrat, one of the Democrats on the Intelligence Committee who was investigating Trump, Adam Schiff, Representative Schiff, he came out and he commented on what Nunes did. And I want to go through what he said and comment on it. This is what he said.
Tuesday, Wednesday, the chairman, in what appears to be a dead of night excursion, obtains or reviews some documents that he has not shared with his own committee. And it's not just that he hasn't shared them with Democrats on the committee, he hasn't shared them with Republicans on the committee. All of us are essentially in the dark. But what was most concerning about that whole incident is taking that information to the White House. Now, it is associates of the president who are potentially the subject of investigation into whether they colluded in any way with the Russians. So to take evidence that may or may not be related to the investigation to the White House was wholly inappropriate, and of course cast grave doubts into the ability to run a credible investigation and the integrity of that investigation.
I don't believe that there's integrity in this investigation with you in it anyway, Adam. Sorry. I mean, the way he was grandstanding when Comey was there in front of Congress, and he was grandstanding and he was trying to make a speech on how all this connections between Trump and Russia. I mean, come on. This guy doesn't care about a credible investigation. This guy wants to get Trump. And it's so obvious. He's been all over the news stations for the past couple months trying to get at Trump, trying to show that Trump had collusion with Russia. He's been talking to everyone. So Nunes comes out, finds some information, instead of goes to you. I wouldn't go to you either. So instead of going to you, he goes to the president, who has access to this anyways, who might be involved, and say, look, this is troubling. You should be very concerned about this, Mr. President. And Adam said, this is entirely inappropriate. Yes, I can go on all these news shows and yell about Trump and go and Comey investigations and yell about Trump. That's not inappropriate at all. But when he goes and gives the president information that may or may not, remember he said that, may or may not have to do with Russia, that's highly inappropriate. See, I'm above politics here, Mr. Adam Schiff, but Nunes is just all about politics. Yeah, give me a break. This is why I lose my patience with these people sometimes, because they try to fool me. They try to think I'm stupid and think, oh, okay, yes, you're credible while he's not. Give me a break. Now, Nunes was on Hannity earlier this week, and he commented on this whole situation, and this is what he said.
But to me, it's clear that I would be concerned if I was the president, and that's why I wanted him to know, and I felt like I had a duty and obligation to tell him because, as you know, he's been taking a lot of heat in the news media, and I think to some degree there are some things that he should look at to see whether, in fact, he thinks the collection was proper or not. We need to know who requested that unmasking, what was the purpose for unmasking, because it should be pretty rare that American names are unmasked. And that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of, and we're hopeful that we get some of the information tomorrow so that the rest of our committee can review. These programs are vitally important to the security of our country, and that's why we take this seriously here in Congress to conduct our oversight. And clearly, when I see a problem, I'm going to point it out.
So I agree with him. He sees a problem, he points it out. He asks a very good question. Who was doing this unmasking and why? Why were they doing this unmasking, and was it done for political reasons, which I think it was, or was there a reason for it? And if it had nothing to do with Russia, then why is this happening? And why did the Obama administration relax the rules in dealing with the NSA and dealing with all this? Because he wanted the intelligence to get out there to affect Donald Trump. I think these are very important questions. And to act like, oh, well, I'm going to go to Adam Schiff and act like he's going to be reasonable and above it all and be very concerned as well what the intelligence community is doing is it's beyond reason. So I think there's something going on here. I've always smelled a rat. Trump didn't really help himself because he reacted too quickly. But those initial news reports were out there. And actually, to be frank, I think this stuff probably goes on a lot more and has been going on a lot more in the past years than we realize. I think it's coming out now because that's just the nature of media now. You can't hide this stuff anymore. But I think this stuff's been going on. I really do. And, it's incredibly difficult to prove directly that Obama was involved. But he gives the orders to the DOJ. They're his guy. They're his people in there. He can tell with the FBI what's going on. He knew what was going on. He knew what was going on. And they keep trying to say Trump-Russia collusion, but there's no evidence. They still don't have evidence. Does it really take that long to get evidence? And Comey was very cryptic in his testimony. He needs to come out and say, if there's collusion, come out and say it. What's taking so long here? I don't know. I smell a big, fat, stinky, smelly liberal rat on this. So I want to move on to another thing that the Democrats are doing that's just beyond reason. Chuck Schumer. Tom Benson, our producer, his favorite guy, Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
Just loves Chuck Schumer, right? Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi just like
Nancy Pelosi in drag. That's Chuck Schumer.
Exactly right. So Chuck Schumer comes out this week, and he says basically they're going to filibuster Gorsuch. And, well, this is what he said. Can you play that cut for me, Tom Benson?
After careful deliberation, I have concluded that I cannot support Judge Neil Gorsuch's nomination to the Supreme Court. His nomination will have a cloture vote. He will have to earn 60 votes for confirmation. My vote will be no, and I urge my colleagues to do the same.
Now, he later said that the reason he does it is he thinks Gorsuch doesn't defend the little guy against corporations enough. And Gorsuch is, I don't know, not good on Roe v. Wade or something. Why? Because he wants to follow the law? Anyone who watched that testimony knows they're not buying this. They're not buying that Gorsuch is some kind of radical. He's just someone who believes in the Constitution and follows the law. But this is what I'm talking here. I just got a comment that says nuclear option. Nuclear. I'm with them. Yeah, let's put the nuclear option. They want to play hardball.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, they're playing hardball. That's what they're doing. They're upset because they didn't get their guy in, okay? They have 4 leftist judges, but that's not good enough for them. So they didn't get their guy in, and they're pouting. And they're going to go and play hardball. Fine. Let's play hardball back. Let's get this guy in. It's going to happen anyway. So let's just do it. Let's just do this. And let's not pretend, the Republicans started this whole thing of being against Obama. I'm pretty sure Obama's nominees were confirmed, were they not? I don't remember the nuclear option being implemented by the Democrats in those nominees. So let's not go down this road. But if they're going to play hardball, they're going to be hardball politics, fine. Then let's get this done and move on for the best, to do what's best for the country. Anyone agree or disagree? 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. Oh, by the way, we're going to have something that made Yaffee Laffee. Everyone loves that. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Download the iHeartRadio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast. The conscience in your ear telling you the difference between right and wrong. Yaffee is back on the air.
Yes, this is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We have covered a lot on the show today, but if you missed any of the show, make sure to check out the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. Make sure to follow me on Twitter as well at Beyond Reason R. So it is that time of the show. Once again, things that make Yaffee Laffee. Yes, things that make Yaffee Laffee. Now, I'm going to play some audio here that came out, and it's Elmo, and apparently he gets laid off. It's a joke going around social media and went viral of Elmo getting the letter F for fired. and I'm sure I'm laughing for different reasons, because the point of this was to make us feel bad because Trump wants to cut PBS, but I just laughing because I don't care if Elmo gets fired. Here it is.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, thanks for coming in, Elmo. We have something very important to discuss.
Elmo happy to help. Elmo loves to help.
Elmo,
That's so dumb.
It does me no great joy to inform you that due to recent cuts in government funding to PBS, you are no longer employed by Sesame Street Workshop.
Huh? What?
Elmo, you're
So
being
dumb.
laid off.
Just like that? Elmo's been working at Sesame Street for 32 years. Elmo,
Yes,
Elmo
well,
doesn't...
the Trump administration is getting all arts and education funding from the new congressional budget.
But Elmo's rent just went up.
Elmo, you're gonna land on your feet. Don't worry.
But Elmo hasn't been unemployed since the 80s. What's going to happen to Elmo's insurance? Elmo has pre-existing condition.
Well, you should apply for government health care while you can. That's being gutted too.
Where is Elmo supposed to go? Elmo's only real talent is being Elmo.
Well, you could take pictures with tourists in Times Square for tips.
Huh?
I know it's not glamorous, Elmo, but...
Is there anyone Elmo can contact?
What, you mean Donald Trump?
Donald Grump?
Sure, Elmo, Donald Trump.
Are there other monsters fired too? Cookie Monster? Tully Monster?
Yes, we let Tally and Cookie go this morning.
But what about the kids?
They have YouTube, Elmo.
YouTube. Will you guys rate Elmo a good reference?
I can give you a letter of recommendation.
All right. Well, that's...
He gives him the letter F.
Okay.
We're fired.
Elmo will go bye-bye now.
Yeah, bye.
One more thing. Leave the puppet.
Leave the puppet? What do you...
Oh, won't somebody
Yeah.
please think of the children?
Oh, it's so funny. I'm supposed to watch that and be very sad because Donald Grump wants to get rid of funding for PBS, and that means Elmo would be fired. This is such nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. You know, in 2010, the Sesame Street Workshop made $45 million in merchandise alone.
Sure.
$45 million.
Yeah. But it doesn't go back to PBS. It goes to fund the children's workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if they get rid of PBS, somebody's going to pick up Sesame Street. Sesame Street makes tons of money on its own and is able to make tons of money on its own. It probably can make a lot more money on another station, and they'll be just fine. They could actually probably do an online show and be just fine. They make tons of money off merchandise, DVDs, rights, licensing, all that stuff. The idea that we need taxpayer dollars to fund Sesame Street, if Elmo should be upset that he's been screwed on royalties. If I were Elmo and I'm getting fired and I can't pay rent, if I were him, I'd be like, where's my royalty money after how much money Sesame Street has made over the years? This whole nonsense that the government needs to fund PBS so Sesame Street can survive. It's silly. It's silly. They make so much money, and other kid shows have to survive in the free market, and they do just fine. And poor Elmo. Elmo has pre-existing condition. Oh, shut up. It's just ridiculous. I wonder what that condition is, by the way. All right, I thank you all for joining me. This is Beyond Reason Radio. Getting some comments on Facebook laughing at Elmo. Poor Elmo. He'll be fine. I mean, he could probably get a better gig, apparently. He's not getting paid enough. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all listening. Make sure if you missed any of the show, check out the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. And, everyone have a good weekend. I'll catch you guys next time.
Oh, well,